The chains fell from his wrists, but what the plantation owner said next made his blood run cold. "You're free now, Samuel, and you're going to marry my daughter." The room went silent. Even the crickets outside seemed to stop chirping. What happened next would change an entire town forever. Welcome back to Sanctum of Shadows, where we uncover the most shocking true stories hidden in history's darkest corners. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because today's story will leave you absolutely speechless. And if you love these twisted tales of the past, smash that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear this incredible story. Now, let's dive in. Mississippi, 1866. The Civil War had ended just 1 year ago, but the South was still a powder keg of tension, confusion, and resentment. Samuel Washington was 24 years old, standing in the grand parlor of Blackwood Plantation, a place where he'd spent 15 years of his life in bondage. But today was different. Today, Master Edmund Blackwood had called him inside, not to punish him, but to make him an offer. "Samuel," Edmund said, his voice raspy from years of whiskey and cigars, "I'm dying. The doctors give me 6 months, maybe less." Samuel stood frozen, unsure how to respond. "You didn't exactly offer condolences to a man who'd owned you like livestock just a year prior," Edmund continued, coughing into a handkerchief. "My daughter, Catherine, she's too gentle for this world, too naive. The vultures are already circling, waiting to take this land, take everything I've built." He paused, his gray eyes boring into Samuel's. "You're the only man I trust. You'll marry her, manage this plantation, and keep her safe." Samuel's mind reeled. Catherine Blackwood was the plantation owner's only child, raised on silk pillows and French lessons. She was 21, beautiful in that fragile porcelain doll way that seemed almost unreal, and her father wanted her to marry him, a former slave. "Sir, I don't understand," Samuel finally managed. "Your daughter, she'd never agreed to this. Your family, the town, they'd never allow it." Edmund slammed his fist on the mahogany desk. "I don't care what they allow. This is my land, my decision. You have a choice, Samuel. Accept my offer and become one of the wealthiest men in the county, or refuse and watch vultures tear Catherine apart the moment I'm in the ground." When Catherine learned of her father's decision, she didn't scream, she didn't cry. She simply stared at Samuel across the dining room table with those haunting blue eyes and said, "So you're to be my husband." It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact, delivered with the same emotion one might use to comment on the weather. The wedding was arranged for the following week, a quiet private ceremony with only Edmund's lawyer present as witness. No family, no friends, no celebration, just legal documents that transferred ownership of Blackwood Plantation to Samuel and Catherine jointly. The town's reaction was immediate and vicious. Within days, crosses were burned on the lawn. Threatening letters arrived daily. Former Confederate soldiers, still bitter from their defeat, saw this union as the ultimate insult. A black man, formerly enslaved, now owning one of the most prosperous plantations in Mississippi, married to a white woman of high society, it was unthinkable. But something unexpected began to happen behind the closed doors of Blackwood Plantation. Samuel and Catherine started talking, really talking. "I never wanted any of this," Catherine confessed one evening, standing on the veranda as the sun set over the cotton fields. "I never asked to be born into this family, this system. Do you know what it's like, Samuel, to know that your comfort was built on someone else's suffering?" Samuel studied her carefully. "Are you asking for my sympathy?" "No," she said quietly. "I'm asking for your honesty. My father thinks you'll protect me, but why should you? After everything this family did to you." It was the first time anyone from the Blackwood family had acknowledged the horror of it all. And in that moment, Samuel made a decision. He wouldn't do this for Edmund. He wouldn't do this for duty. But maybe, just maybe, he could build something new from the ashes of something terrible. Over the next 3 months, as Edmund's health deteriorated, Samuel and Catherine worked together to transform Blackwood Plantation. They didn't just manage it, they revolutionized it. Samuel knew farming better than anyone. He'd worked these fields since he was 9 years old, but now he made the decisions. He implemented crop rotation, improved irrigation, and most shockingly, he paid the workers, former slaves who'd stayed on, having nowhere else to go. He paid them fair wages, provided decent housing, and treated them with respect. Catherine, meanwhile, used her education and social connections in ways her father never imagined. She negotiated contracts with merchants up north who were eager to do business with a plantation that represented the New South. She kept meticulous financial records and proved to be a savvy businesswoman. But it was their partnership that truly stunned everyone. In public, they maintained a professional distance, but in private, they'd become friends. They'd share meals, discuss philosophy, debate politics. Catherine taught Samuel to read complex legal documents. Samuel taught Catherine the brutal truths about the land she'd always taken for granted. When Edmund finally passed away that December, something unexpected happened at his funeral. Samuel stood beside Catherine, and instead of the hatred he expected from the attendees, he saw something else in many eyes. Curiosity, fear, yes. Resentment, absolutely, but also curiosity about what would happen next. The attack came on a cold February night in 1867. 15 men, their faces covered, descended on Blackwood Plantation with torches and guns. They wanted to send a message. The old order still had power. But Samuel had prepared for this. He'd hired security. Black veterans from the Union Army who'd fought for their freedom and weren't about to lose it now. The confrontation in the front yard was brief but intense. Shots were fired. 2 of the attackers were wounded. The rest fled into the night. When the sheriff arrived the next morning, everyone expected him to arrest Samuel. Instead, something remarkable happened. Catherine stood on the front steps, her voice clear and unwavering, and identified 3 of the attackers by name. They were sons of prominent families, men she'd known her entire life. "They came to my home," she declared. "They tried to burn it down, to kill my husband. I want them prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." The town was scandalized. The case went to trial, and in a courthouse still struggling with Reconstruction policies, something unprecedented occurred. The attackers were found guilty, not because the justice system had suddenly become fair, but because Catherine's testimony, combined with testimony from the wounded attackers themselves, was irrefutable. The verdict sent shockwaves through the county. The old power structures were crumbling. 2 years into their marriage, on a warm spring evening, Catherine finally revealed the truth that had been weighing on her soul. "I knew," she whispered, tears streaming down her face, "about my father's offer to you. I knew before he even told you, and I encouraged him to do it." Samuel set down the book he'd been reading. "What do you mean?" "I was terrified," Catherine continued. "After the war, men kept coming to court me, cruel men. Men who wanted this land, who saw me as a path to wealth and power. Men who would have continued my father's legacy of brutality. I was so scared, Samuel, and I'd watched you for years. Even as a child, I saw your dignity, your intelligence. You were the only good man I knew." She looked at him with desperate eyes. "I manipulated my dying father into forcing you into this marriage. I'm so sorry. You deserved your freedom, and instead, I trapped you in another kind of bondage." The silence stretched between them. Then Samuel did something that surprised them both. He laughed, not bitterly, but with genuine amusement. "Catherine, do you know what I've learned over these 2 years? Freedom isn't about having no obligations. It's about choosing which obligations matter. I chose to stay. I chose to build this with you. Yes, your father made the initial offer, but every day since, I've chosen to be here." He reached across and took her hand, something they'd never done before. "We're not our parents. We're not their sins. We're whatever we decide to build together. By 1870, Blackwood Plantation had become something entirely new. It was now a cooperative farm owned by Samuel and Catherine, but operated by a community of free workers who shared in the profits. It became a model, however imperfect, of what Reconstruction could achieve. Samuel and Catherine's marriage, which had begun as a transaction, had evolved into a genuine partnership built on respect, shared values, and eventually love. Not the romantic love of fairy tales, but something deeper. The love of two people who'd chosen to face an impossible situation together and build something meaningful from it. They had 3 children, which created its own set of challenges in the deeply segregated South, but they raised them to be proud, educated, and unafraid of who they were. The town never fully accepted them. There were always whispers, always judgment, but over time, something shifted. Younger generations saw Blackwood Plantation's success and started questioning the old ways. Other plantations, facing economic collapse, began adopting some of Samuel's farming techniques. Slowly, painfully, change came. Samuel lived to be 78 years old. Catherine passed just 2 years after him at 75. They're buried together on the plantation under an oak tree that had witnessed the worst of the past and the hope of something better. And that's the shocking true story of Samuel Washington and Catherine Blackwood. A marriage that began as a dying man's desperate bargain became a testament to the possibility of change, redemption, and the power of choosing who we become. History isn't always clean, it's messy, complicated, and full of gray areas, but stories like this remind us that even in the darkest times, people can choose differently. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more incredible true stories from History Shadows, subscribe to Sanctum of Shadows and hit that notification bell. Share this video with anyone who loves history's untold stories. Until next time, remember, the past shapes us, but it doesn't define us.